गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन ब्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन ब्रज जनरञ्जन यमुना तीरावनचारी
यमुना
यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णु शिवा भाई चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन बिबली संस्थापक आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोदर श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड श्री गिरि गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की गंगा मई जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की कलियुग पावन हरे नाम संकीर्तन की हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेशनल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshi Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for organizing this event and giving me an opportunity to share a few words on this topic, creating a spiritual revolution. And thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, for hosting us here and creating a beautiful ambience for this event. So, I started coming to the UK in 2004 and got connected to a few generations of Pandava Sena devotees, and last 5 years I couldn't travel much because I was caught in another revolution at the Eco Village. And my observation over the last 12-13 years of the Pandava Sena is that you have tremendous potential and some really powerful leaders have emerged from the Pandava Sena ranks. And especially in the West, one of the most powerful outreach amongst the youth undoubtedly is being headed by the Pandava Sena. In India, of course, it's a different scene where we have a population of 1.2 billion, out of which 80% are Hindus. But outside of India, I think this is one of the most powerful, effective, impactful outreach which at least I have experienced and seen, and now I also see that you're reaching out to various other places. Generally speaking, in society, historically speaking, people are attracted to two kinds of topics. One is love and the second is war. And so many books have been written about these topics. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically came 500 years ago at a time when society in Bengal was torn apart by the war created by Nawab Hussain Shah and others. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the message of love and peace through the Harinam Sankirtan. So therefore, we are in the business of creating revolution by spreading the message of love. And of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a demonstration right in front of the house of Chand Kazi. And that was like the first public demonstration of protest. And the Harinam Sankirtan along with all the torches and everything. And that really brought the Kazi to his senses, and he allowed the Sankirtan to become bona fide all across Bengal. And I think a similar protest was organized by, Pandava Sena many years ago, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I think Naveen and Shruti and so many others were involved in that whole exercise. So ultimately, after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought Chand Kazi to the negotiation table, then what he negotiated was that please allow us to perform Harinam Sankirtan. So therefore, it goes without a doubt that that's the mission we are into. And the methods which we may use to distribute the message of Harinam Sankirtan may vary as per time, place and circumstance. When I was personally studying in IIT, so it was not that I had made plans while entering IIT that I'll end up like this. It was a regular choice which most people in my town made. Either you become engineer or doctor. And at that time, I come from a very small steel town in India, in Chhattisgarh now. That time it was Madhya Pradesh, called Bhilai. So practically the only hope for doing anything in future is either you become engineer or doctor. So practically in my cricket team, whoever I was playing with, 3-4 years senior to me, they all entered IIT. So I didn't have any choice. So following in their footsteps, I also went to IIT. And then when I was in my third year, one of my friends, he attempted suicide. He was a very good student, and I was wondering why he attempted suicide. And I say attempted because the attempt failed. He was hanging from a ceiling fan with a rope, and that rope was not good quality, it broke. He was heavier than he thought. So he survived that attempt. And I approached him and asked him that you have everything going in life, why you are trying to commit suicide? So then he mentioned to me that he's always used to getting the gold medal. And this time in this particular exam, he got the silver medal. And so he couldn't handle it. And I told him, people are dying to get into IIT. You are inside IIT trying to die. This is strange. And getting a silver medal, having some marks little less than someone else doesn't make such a big difference. But for him it made all the difference. So I realized that there is something in life beyond just gross achievement. And that's something which arises from the mind, the expectations. And the gap between expectations and reality creates stress and anxiety. So the IIT education system is not teaching all the skill sets required to live in this world. Like that. So many people feel that, of course, one of my other friends, he tried to commit suicide sleeping on the railway track. The train was 6 hours late. He got frustrated. And he said in Hindi, Zindagi zalim hai, jeene bhi nahi deti, marne bhi nahi deti. So then in that same batch, I had 4 or 5 of my other friends. They failed in 3 or 4 subjects. And they were moving around the campus blissfully, as if nothing happened. Blessing everybody. Look at us, why are you so stressed out? What's the problem in life? So I approached them and said, Arey, you are very shameless. You're moving around the campus, blissfully. This other fellow, he just didn't get gold medal, he's trying to kill himself. And you are smiling and encouraging, inspiring everybody, having failed in 4 subjects. What is this? And they said, our philosophy in life is very simple. Entering college is our job, taking us out of the college is college job. That was their philosophy in life. So I could see that, if we need a satisfying life in future, then there is much more to life than just achievements. Because technology is just creating all kinds of mechanism by which people can function. But it does not create the ecosystem for the human being who's running that technology. The man behind the machine is not being addressed. So therefore, what will you do if the most sophisticated technology is created, but the person behind that technology is not inspired to even function, to work? And he's filled with questions. And he's filled with all kinds of existential doubts. And that's what happened, to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So therefore, I realized that, okay, I need answers to these questions. And I was looking out what we can connect with. And then my roommate, he was a very spiritual person. Roommate means next room. And he was visiting all kinds of different sadhus, babas, yogis. He would keep telling me which is the latest sadhu he is visiting. Different Anandas he was visiting. So my legal name was also Ananda before. So I said, I don't need any more Ananda. But when you come to a conclusion, let me know. So at that point I told him, when your search is over, when you come to a conclusion, then you share with me. So then he was going around, and then finally I heard him chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra continuously for 1 year. So then I approached him, said, hey, you don't seem to be changing the mantra. For a long time you're doing this mantra. So looks like you found a conclusion. He said, yes, now I'm initiated, by whatever, so and so. And then, even then I didn't feel like going there. But then I heard one of my room, the wing, one gentleman, he was a Marwadi from Calcutta. And he started going to these programs, and he came and told me that there is this gentleman who comes from the temple. He's a monk, but he's done his MBA in finance. He was working in Standard Chartered. He speaks English, and he comes driving the Maruti van. I mean, this was too much for me to handle, 4 in 1. And that was Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj. So I said, Arey, a monk whose MBA was in Standard Chartered, who speaks English? Because I thought monks means, generally in India, sadhus are all Hindi speaking. And then he drives also. I have to go. So then I just went. I made the mistake of going. And once I went, it was Yad Gatva Na Nivartante. And I got connected. And even then I didn't feel that I'm going to join or something. So probably April 1992 I got connected, and by May 1993 I had made a decision to join. So within 1 year. And then my family was totally bewildered and wondering what's going on. And it happened. Many times I tried to distribute prasad. One time I was giving prasad to one boy. He refused. And I said, what's the problem? Take the prasad. He said, if I take the prasad, my hairstyle will become like yours. I will not touch this. So it all began with prasadam only. It was not for philosophy, because first 6 months I couldn't understand what he's speaking. But all I could understand is at the end of the lecture, what he gives, prasadam, that has a divine transcendental touch. And it cannot compare with what I'm getting in the hostel. So then what happened was, he inspired me to start bringing other students. And that was pretty difficult in the beginning, because initially I was trying to be Krishna conscious secretly, quietly, and not let any of my friends know what I'm doing, because I was thinking how they will respond and how they will react. So then when he said, you get other friends, I said, Hare Baba, who's going to take that risk? So then he gave one lecture, and in that lecture he talked about Jagai and Madhai, how Mahaprabhu converted Jagai and Madhai and whole Bengal was converted. So I liked that story, and I thought that, if I bring the biggest drunkard of the hostel to the program, and if he becomes devotee, whole hostel will become devotee. So that was an interesting strategy, I thought. So that was the first time I attempted to get somebody, and that's how the revolution spreads. That one person who's convinced, he shares with others, and then gradually the message spreads. So I went to the hostel, and this friend of mine, he was a very close friend, but he was always drunk. So he was already drunk when I was making him this proposal. And I said that you must come with me, this weekend for a program on Saturday. He said, what program? I said, Bhagavad Gita lecture. He said, are you drunk? You are inviting me for a Gita lecture? You know whom you are talking to? I said, come on, Valmiki also had a history. Not a problem. Everyone can change. Come with me. So then, because we were kind of close, so he said, okay, I'll come on one condition. I'll bring the liquor bottle with me. We used to call it quarter. So I'll bring the quarter with me. So will ISKCON allow liquor bottle in the Gita class? So he thought, I'll tell him, okay, forget it, don't come. So I said, let me ask the temple. So I thought, let me call the temple and ask, do you allow a guy with the bottle inside? Then I thought, they'll tell me, even you don't come. We don't want this kind of people coming to our program. So I said, okay, no point calling them. I take risk. My responsibility. You come, bring your bottle. So the program used to be from 11 o'clock in the morning. So this guy was already drunk, half quarter he had finished. He put it in the, half quarter of vodka he put in the back of his, jeans pant, and he came. And when we came near the room, I requested him that you keep this bottle on top of the door. Don't bring it inside. You brought it here, fine, keep it here. He said, ISKCON people will not drink it, no? ISKCON fellows will not finish it off? I said, they don't drink tea and coffee also. What you're saying? So he came in, he sat. So I told him, I am bringing you on one condition, you will not open your mouth because you're already drunk and the smell will spread and I don't want to be trapped. So you just keep quiet. Don't open your mouth. He said, no problem. I'll get food, no, in then. Yeah. Keep quiet. So he sat down. So Maharaj came and he saw, usually 2 of us would come for the program. That day, 3rd person came. It was a significant increase. Percentage wise, it was a big, new guy has walked in after 4 weeks. So he turned his attention to him and said, okay, what's your name? I was sitting here, I gave the reply. His name is so and so. He was wondering, okay, which year you are in? I gave the reply. Which branch you are in? I gave the reply. I'm asking him, why is he answering? So I said, Prabhu, he's very shy. My friend is very shy. So in the middle of the lecture, the lecture began. In the middle of the lecture, he hit me on the side and said, how long will he speak? When will the food come? I said, ISKCON means at the end only they give. After they speak the whole philosophy. So he was so impatient, he got up, walked out. Whatever half bottle was remaining, he finished, came back and sat. Further drunk. And then at the end of the talk, Maharaj asked, do you want mala? He said, yes. I said, hey, are you going to use it? He said, he's asking me. So he took the mala, went to the hostel. He had mala in one hand, bottle in another hand. He said, I have joined ISKCON. So that was the beginning of my preaching career. So I realized that it's not easy to convince people to transform to Krishna consciousness, and it took me more than a week to take the beads from him back, because taking the bottle out was out of my power. So therefore what Srila Prabhupada did in the West is he touched people's lives and he created a transformation in their character. And therefore there are certain qualities which are inherently part of the soul, and when that soul develops a relationship with Krishna, all of these qualities naturally emerge. And therefore Krishna consciousness begins by creating a revolution within our own heart, our own consciousness. And when our heart is completely transformed, or at least when we experience a significant transformation, we feel inspired to share this with others. So preaching of Krishna consciousness is nothing but sharing one's experience of joy, practicing the process with others. And therefore the most powerful impact we can have in spreading the message of Krishna consciousness is by experiencing and tasting the joy and the bliss in the relationship of servitude with respect to Krishna. So the enjoyership fills the heart with anxiety, with stress, and servitude fills the heart with great bliss and joy. And that is basically the essence of Krishna consciousness. That I feel happy in my new identity, not exactly new identity, but an identity I had forgotten as a servant. And when I realize that identity, I experience a kind of joy, because the Hladini Shakti, which is the bliss potency of the Lord, is released by the Lord's grace. And that's the essence of Krishna consciousness. And therefore all spiritual revolution begins with an individual revolution, an individual transformation, an individual experience. And depending on the quality and the impact of Krishna consciousness on the individual, then that individual can get traction in connecting other people to Krishna consciousness. And therefore, we have to begin our focus with our individual practice of Krishna consciousness. And when we are so transformed and so filled with joy and so filled with satisfaction and bliss that we do not even have to speak any words, because our entire example will be so attractive and enchanting, because every soul is seeking that joy and love. They will automatically come searching for it. And that's how ISKCON was established. ISKCON was established not merely on the words spoken by His Divine Grace, but by the direct example which people saw, which Srila Prabhupada was exuding. The experience of joy in Krishna consciousness. How can someone stay for 6 hours awake in the middle of the night, from 12 at night to 6 in the morning, translating a literature into a dictaphone all alone? Definitely he must be experiencing a certain joy and certain taste in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, the future of our movement is dependent on how each devotee connects more genuinely, more substantially, more powerfully with Krishna. And therefore, what has brought us to this movement is Krishna consciousness. And what will spread this movement is Krishna consciousness. And all the problems in our movement are created by lack of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we are in the Krishna consciousness movement. And absence of Krishna consciousness is the origin of all problems, real and perceived. And therefore, the main experience which I had at that time is I was already on a path to go to America for doing higher studies. My sister was already in US, she was in New York at that time, and she had given birth to a son, and my parents were there. So that was the time I got connected to ISKCON. And these were two unrelated activities. They went for, helping my sister with the delivery. I was here in Mumbai. I got connected to devotees. But then the whole impact was so much just by seeing Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj and his example that I decided to dedicate my life to this movement, which is something nobody in my family ever did. And we have a very large family. I have 31 cousins, 31 first cousins. There is a congregation at home only. And many years later, I did a program for my family, because they were still under shock. So they were like 100, 150 people for that program. I had to go in Prabhu with me, because you can't preach, you can't give a lecture in your own family. So then he gave a talk on how, in the Bhagavatam it is said, if someone gets connected to Krishna consciousness, whole family gets transformed. And 21 generations get liberated. So that really enchanted them, and they were like cheering and saying, very good. And then after the program, my cousin came to me and said, continue chanting. Don't give up. If there is any problem, let me know. And I also realized one thing, that I don't have to do anything in life, because you're taking care of all of us. So actually speaking, it was a big shock for the family. But even I was bewildered that what am I doing? Because I never thought about it in that sense. And then it was Sharad Purnima of 1993, and I was, wanting to join the ashram full time. I was working in Kirloskar in Pune. Radhesham Prabhu, myself and Sudama Prabhu, we were staying together in a flat in Pune. So, we were, at that point itself, like I started cooking in the temple, and my mother was shocked that you have started cooking. You never entered the kitchen in the house. Never lit a gas in the house ever. What's going on? They are exploiting you. Are they making you work? I said, no, I'm doing it on my own. And they couldn't believe it. And then so, I was looking for a job, and Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj told me that Radhesham Prabhu is alone in Pune, and he's completely absorbed in preaching. He doesn't have anything to cook, anyone to cook. So you go and become his cook. So that was my first service, to go in Pune and cook for Radhesham Prabhu. And so I had to take a job in Pune, so I got a job. So then Sudama Prabhu was not with us. So Radhesham Prabhu is pretty transcendental, he doesn't care about food and this and that. He would do his own style of cooking and everything. So when I started, and he would make poha, you couldn't figure out whether it's cooked or uncooked or whatever. And he would distribute that as prasad. So Sudama Prabhu used to stay separate and used to come and honor that and go. And he thought this is prasad. So when I went, I made a big meal, feast, and then fed Sudama Prabhu. So he said, hey, what is this? I said, this is prasad. Oh, that is prasad? This is also prasad. So you can be normal in prasad. So immediately, next day he moved in. And not only he moved in, we went to the shop and purchased all the utensils, for cooking. And from that time onwards, the whole schedule was, I was in one sense working, and but the schedule was get up in the morning, start cooking for breakfast and lunch, go to the job, in the evening come back, purchase vegetables, bring the vegetables back, cook again in the evening, make dinner, make some halwa, then we would go out in cycle to do a preaching program. Radheshyam Prabhu and Sudama Prabhu double ride, and myself in another cycle. And that was our, initial preaching. So the Nigadi program and all we began. Now Nigadi is like a full-fledged ISKCON temple with deities and everything. But that's how, we had that eagerness. Let's share whatever we are experiencing with others. So actually I worked only 3 months. And then in the Sharat Punya was praying, how can I join? And then in November, I think it was November 14, we were driving back from IIT. And Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj is like one of the fastest drivers I've ever experienced in life. Nobody drives faster than him. Fast is like, I'm just being very euphemistic. I would say rash. And, when you see his personality and you see his driving, it is like totally rasabhas. So many times I would be sitting right next to him and he would be driving, and the way he would cut, my other driver is sitting there, Garuda, he's another rash fellow. But he beats him 100 times. So, go in, go out, go in, go out, cutting lanes, overtaking trucks, doing this, doing that, and I would look at him that, is he the same person? He was inspiring me with his cool personality, but it was so intense. And then one day we were driving and there was a truck right in front of us, and the truck fellow saw a gap in the divider and he decided to take a turn without informing. I mean, that's kind of normal in India. Each truck fellow is in his own mood. They feel the highway is built for them. So he just took a turn without giving any signal, and we were going in a Maruti van. Maruti van is, I don't know if you have seen it, the driver is there and then there is no bonnet in front. Straight, it comes like, it is designed to send you back to Godhead. So if you hit, that's it. So at 110 kilometers per hour we were going, and this truck suddenly came, and I could see right in front that, okay, this is Mrityu Sarvaharaschaham. That's an experience of a lifetime. You see the death right in front of you. And then I realized, okay, this is it. That's the end of the human form of life. And I was 22 at that time. And so within like 5 seconds, we hit the truck. There was another gentleman sitting behind from Italy, and he broke his arm. And Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj got crushed between the steering wheel and the seat. And this whole window in front crashed in front, on top of me. And I was not wearing the seat belt, so my head went ahead. And the steel from the top, it crashed down. And if my head was like this, my neck would have been finished. So I survived because, my head went ahead. And then when I came out, it was all blood. So I was kind of figuring out whether I'm still alive or not. Then I said, okay, I chanted, Hare Krishna, okay, voice is there. And then in the neighboring, there was a car which stopped. So I looked into that rear view mirror, and I saw like one of those Bollywood horror movies where the full face is filled with blood. So my whole face was filled with blood, and the whole body was filled with the glass pieces, and it was like a 3-hour surgery. They took out all the glass pieces and everything. And then, that was the moment where I realized that my life was actually over. Then and there, at 22, I was finished. That was the end of my life at 22. So then, I decided I'm going to quit. So my parents got the idea that I'm quitting. So they came to Pune. So I was not there, I was in Mumbai. So they came and they met Radheshyam Prabhu and Sudama Prabhu and started chastising them left, right and center. So the chastisement was so heavy that when I came to Pune to meet them, Sudama Prabhu first met me and said, you should not join ashram. Grahastha ashram is very good. I said, what happened? Oh, your mother chastised me like anything. And the effect of that chastisement was such that for 10 years, whenever my mother would come to temple, he would run away. So then, I told them, At that time I was only 22, I was young, enthusiastic, and I said, I was anyway a dead body on the highway, right? So if I was dead in that accident, what you would have done? You would have cried over my dead body. Now I am alive. You know, who saved me? Krishna. So whoever saved me, my life is for him. Hare Krishna. So they were like, and I said, so if I am joining, you will still cry, but at least I am alive, which is better. So that was like, I was in the peak of that enthusiasm, and so that's how I joined at that point in time. And then we started, connecting to the youth in Mumbai, and gradually the preaching expanded. But what really gave that conviction was the personal example of Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj and many other devotees, including Radhanath Maharaj. I got connected to Radhanath Maharaj more closely a little later. But initially it was that connect. And the biggest impact is created when you see that the process of Krishna consciousness is working for someone. So therefore all other techniques, strategies, this, that, comes much later. What the world really needs is genuine examples of the simple process of Krishna consciousness, creating real, significant, substantial impact in a person's life, which is then visible in the form of the person's words, behavior, and actions. And therefore, that inspired me to connect to the temple closely. And then, it was like end of 93, December 93, I joined. And then, the journey began, spreading Krishna consciousness. So therefore, the essence of what I'm trying to share is that for millions of lifetimes, the conditioned soul is under the influence of lust. And lust basically means selfishness. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to share with us love of Krishna. And love in essence is selflessness. To make that switch from selfish attitude to a selfless attitude of service is not easy. And so in the Madhavendra Puri pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described, Pragada premera ei sobhava achar nijadukha vignadira nokore vichar. That in every relationship there is scarcity, impediment, discomfort, unhappiness. But in spite of that, when the relationship continues, then it means that it is based out of selflessness. And that's the symptom of love. So it's Prabhupada's purport. Scarcity, impediment, discomfort, and unhappiness. And so Sripad Madhavendra Puri went through all of this simply to fulfill the desire of Gopal and bring that Chandan from the place of Malay hills. And then in Remuna, the Lord had reciprocation with him. Pariksha korite Gopal koila agyadan pariksha hoila sheshe hoila dayavan. So the Lord tested him to see whether he is continuing in his pursuit in spite of this test. And he continued on. And therefore it is described, Bahu parishrama chandana remuna anila ananda madila bane dukkhana ganila. So this is a very beautiful summary of this pastime, that Madhavendra Puri went through a lot of anxiety and a lot of effort, Bahu parishrama, to bring that chandan. So when we expend a lot of energy and effort to do something, if we are selfishly motivated, we keep a record of all that effort which we have put. So in business, keeping records is very important. When there is a business transaction is based on give and take. And therefore keeping that records is critical. It's the foundation for that relationship. So therefore when we are in a business relationship with someone, so you can figure out whether the relationship is business-like or out of love, when in the relationship, whatever we do, we keep a track of all of that. Because we want to use it as a negotiation tactic in future. So, Ananda Manila Badila Mane Dukkha na Ganila. So this word Kaviraj Goswami uses is very beautiful. Dukkha na ganila. Ganila means count or keep track or keep account. So Madhavendra Puri did not keep an account of all the anxieties, austerities, sacrifices, troubles he went through in the service of Lord Gopal. Dukkha na ganila. So when we are doing business, if you are providing service, if you are a service provider, you keep track because in return we want remuneration. But in love, there is no keeping account of what we have done for someone. Dukkha na ganila. Ananda badila mane. And his ecstasy increased. And therefore, in a relationship which is inspired by love, it is completely selfless. And therefore Prabhupada writes in that purport, love means service without selfish consideration. And in a world which is permeated with the consciousness of lust and selfishness and what is in it for me, when people smell this different fragrance of selfless service, it is a fragrance they have never experienced. And that is a fragrance I experienced when I came in contact with Bhakti Rasamrita Swami. And that's what made me take the Gita and the Bhagavatam seriously. Because I thought if this is the philosophy which can create this level of transformation in the heart and make a person so selfless, then it must be something substantial. And therefore people are looking for that example. And once they see the example and are convinced by the example, then they open the book. And that's more impactful and that's sustainable. And so, when we were opening this restaurant in Chowpatty, in Govinda's restaurant many years ago, Radhanath Maharaj told us that we should have, pizza in our restaurant. Until then, this was like 2004, we never experienced pizza. We didn't, our whole idea of pizza, the brahmacharis had concocted recipe. So we took bread and put tomato ketchup and we had like fried brinjal on top, and then that we would put in the oven and take it out and give everybody as pizza. And we would even give to Radhanath Maharaj and ask him, how is it? And he would say, oh, very good, very good. So that was our idea of pizza. It was our own created, concocted recipe. So then when, Maharaj said we should have pizza, I said, Maharaj, pizza for sale. I don't think people will pay for that. It's not worth selling in a restaurant. It's okay for us to, distribute in the ashram and all that. Maharaj said, which pizza are you talking about? That which you guys feed me? I said, yeah, what else? Maharaj said, that is not pizza. That is perverted reflection of pizza. And then he called Kaustuba Prabhu from New York. And actually Maharaj, from his suitcase, he took me inside the room, and from his suitcase he took out a small diary. And he said, Gunagrahi Swami was in New York, and I asked him to make pizza and I have noted the recipe of the pizza. And then this is that recipe, take it and you start it. And then from his suitcase he took out one more small box. And he said, this is, the most important part of the pizza. I said, what is it? Artichoke hearts. I had never heard it. So I said, what is this, Maharaj? You're not used to this. He says, you may not know. Have faith. This will be the biggest hit item of the restaurant. New York Italian thin crust pizza. And he said, I'm initiating you in the pizza sampradaya. So actually speaking, till then we never had experienced quality pizza. So then what we used to call as pizza was actually something else. So the name may be referring to different things. So the whole world is talking about love, love, love. And Bollywood is talking about all love stories and everything. But it is all connected to the principle of selfishness. And therefore the world is starving to experience example of selfless service. And therefore when Bollywood talks about love, and Kaviraj Goswami talks about love, and Shukdev Goswami speaks about love, it is not all on the same platform. It's all different. So therefore, this principle of service without selfish consideration is something which Srila Prabhupada came to share with all of us. And when we practice Krishna consciousness with that mood, with sincerity, with tolerance, with humility, with devotion, then gradually the process starts having effect over a period of time. And then we experience transformation in our own lives. And then when we experience that transformation and then we share this experience with others, then gradually others also get impacted. So that's how the spiritual revolution will spread, where we as persons get transformed by the process and then we share that experience of transformation with others. And I'm sure the Pandava Sena here is very much equipped to share this message with all of you and create that impact within all of you and create that transformation. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So wasn't that wonderful? So I just
what else you expect? You're asking in front of me. They're not so rude.
Moving on swiftly, we'd like to welcome His Grace Shrutidhara Prabhu, Temple President of the Manor. And all of you commoners. Okay. So, we're going to have some time for questions. It's going to be really quick. I'll just tell you a quick thing about asking good questions. Right? This is a tip I learned. Second day of my sabbatical program. Put your hands up if you're in the sabbatical program. Who the boys are. Sabbatical program means you stay at the manor for 3 months and you go to Chowpatty where Gauranga Prabhu is for 3 months. Second day of my sabbatical program. I'm 18 years old, fired up after A-levels. And this is going to be it. I'm going to create a spiritual revolution. And I've heard a lot about Gauranga Prabhu. So I go into where he stays and ask him, Prabhu, have you got any time to speak? And he's like, what, now? I'm like, oh, okay. And so I haven't mentally prepared my thoughts to ask good questions. So then I go into his room, and he's very busy, and he's on his laptop. It's 2012, the GEV is going on. I'm just sitting, he's on his laptop for 5 minutes. I'm just sitting in his bed like, okay. And then he turns around and goes, what do you want? And then I asked him a question, and he goes, why are they sending people like you now? Go to Govinda's. Go eat pizza. Oh, that's you wish for. So we'll keep the questions very short and concise. And we'll keep the answers as practical and concise as possible. So does anyone have any questions?
Ancient Priya has taught you how to speak.
I taught him.
Just want to know, we were asking the same question. How come we've sent him to India?
We wanted to get rid of him.
I called Shrutidhara Prabhu. I was like, should I come back? He's like, no, stay for a few more. All right, so any questions?
So, any questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. You mentioned about the point about 21 generations. How does that work when the jiva also has free will? Because if we have free will, then how is it that automatically all our families liberated if they themselves may not choose to be or desire to have that?
Yeah. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita that Vedaham samatitani vartamanani bhavishyani. And so Krishna is known as Satya Sankalpa. So in the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vasudeva Datta in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vasudeva Datta is praying to the Lord, please deliver the whole universe and may I go to hell for that. So Mahaprabhu at that time says that you're actually like Prahlad, and I'm not surprised. Krishna actually has only one task, to fulfill his devotees' desires. And the biggest challenge is the world is still filled with conditioned souls is because the devotees are not sufficiently desiring. Prabhupada writes in that purport. And therefore when we desire very strongly that may more and more people get connected to Krishna consciousness, that desire actually is taken very seriously by Krishna. So therefore Krishna is Satya Sankalpa, and the devotee is Satya Sankalpa, and that Sankalpa of the devotee is fulfilled by Krishna. And therefore we should know that even our current practice of Krishna consciousness has a lot to do with some great souls somewhere, sometime recommending us to Krishna. And so Krishna has kind of taken that seriously. And therefore our own current practice of Krishna consciousness is very much dependent on the mercy of the devotees and the desire of the devotees, although it may appear that I am the one who's doing that practice. So therefore the flow of mercy is very closely interlinked. I remember when after many years my father then finally met Radhanath Maharaj in 2006. That is the first time they met, and then Radhanath Maharaj asked my father, so what were you doing in life? That means all your life. So he said that I was serving in steel plant for 35 years. The guy was famous for a steel plant. I served in the steel plant for 35 years. Maharaj said, now you serve Tulsi plant. And he just had that little bit of interaction, and then he got so inspired by that association that within moments he started chanting. And then 2009 actually, 2010 there was an initiation in March, and in June 2010 he departed. And just before his departure, half an hour before his departure, Radhanath Swami called right from Ukraine, and then I held the phone near his ears, and then he chanted. Maharaj chanted like for 5 minutes, and he heard that chanting, and after hearing that chanting he kind of departed after that. So in that sense, he did not have like a very long track record of practice of Krishna consciousness, but the mercy of devotees is something which goes beyond all kinds of logic and imagination. So ultimately the mercy of the devotees is such that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going in South India tour, he was embracing each and every one. It was not that the people who were coming forward to be embraced, they wanted to be transformed and they knew what was happening. But the grace of Krishna, it overwhelms. Okay. Any other question? Yeah.
You were just mentioning about the mercy of devotees. So how do we accept more of that mercy?
The mercy of the devotees is accepted by sincere practice of Krishna consciousness. Decision making in Krishna consciousness is dependent on three things. First is Sukriti. Sukriti means you have to add pious credits in your life. And pious credits means chanting, hearing, serving, all of that. So chanting and hearing. So Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. So the Shravana Kirtana creates Punya. It is the petrol, it is the diesel which moves the vehicle. And therefore most of the problems which devotees face in their Krishna consciousness is that they are not refueling sufficiently. They are not refueling on time. And if you do not refuel your vehicle on time, your journey, however fast you may be going at one point of time, it will then ultimately be interrupted. So therefore, it's a simple verse. Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. So in ISKCON, our Punya is generated more than anything else. Not by giving charity, not by planting trees. These are all Punya at the mundane level, which impacts our karma and which helps us go to the heavenly planets. But what helps us move our our consciousness towards the spiritual world is Punya Shravana Kirtana. So as the quality of Shravana and Kirtana grows, to that extent our Punya becomes strongly embedded. That's the quality of the fuel, and the quality of the fuel will determine the speed at which your journey will progress. And therefore, that's called Sukriti. The second aspect is Kripa. So with that Punya, you are hearing, I must serve. You are chanting, requesting, engagement in your seva. So in chanting, you are requesting seva. In hearing, you are hearing, we must serve. So it is consistent. The message is consistent on seva. The prayer is consistent, you are asking for seva. So, but when the opportunity comes, then that is a test. Then we should not say, please engage him in your seva. Please engage them in your seva. Seva has come your way. Then you engage honestly in that seva. And then when you do that, the devotees become pleased and they give their blessings. So the blessings is nothing but the pleasure of the devotees experienced in their heart. When Krishna is looking at the trees in Vrindavan, he is pointing to those trees and glorifying those trees in Vrindavan, appreciating them. Pashyadetan mahabhaga parasaikanta jivitan vata varsha atapi himan sahanto varyantina. These trees are so wonderful. They have given up everything for others' sake. Okay. And therefore Mahaprabhu says, quotes this verse later, Etava janma sapalyam. This is the success of life. What? Pranair arther dhya vacha shreya. That you dedicate your mind, body, soul, words, money, everything for the service of others and the devotees. And so this particular glorification of the trees of Vrindavan comes just before the chapter of Krishna delivering the Brahmana wives. Because the Brahmanas are selfish. They know the Shastra, but they do not give to Krishna selflessly. They are selfish. Then that chapter precedes the next chapter, which is Govardhan Leela, where Indra, being the king of heaven, is selfish. And because of his ego, he doesn't give to Krishna and reciprocate with Krishna. So if you see the succession of these chapters, the glorification of the trees by Krishna, then the Brahmanas and Indra. So Krishna wants to demonstrate that it is better to be a low-born, selfless tree than to be a high-born Brahmana or king of heaven. And I am pleased more with the attitude of selflessness, even if it may be a low-born tree. That's what pleases me, not other accomplishments. So therefore, that is called Kripa. Kripa means you get the mercy. Like Radhanath Maharaj was traveling to Belgaum for a program. And he was on a flight and his servant was there with him. And on the same flight, the Indian cricket team was traveling. The Indian cricket team is like, I don't have to tell you because England is also quite into cricket. And it was at that time, many years ago. So there are in India 33 crore demigods plus 11. These are the 11 special demigods. So they were on that flight and the servant looked specially happy. And Maharaj was like wondering, you're always traveling with me, you don't look so happy. What makes you so ecstatic? And he said, special personalities are on this flight. And so the plane landed and the devotees from Belgaum had come with garlands and everything to receive Maharaj and Kirtan and all. So the Indian cricket team felt it is for them. They were waiting and nothing happened, so they walked past. And then Maharaj was received, and then when he went out, there was one cricketer who told Maharaj, okay, I'll help you with your bags. Oh Maharaj, Swamiji, let me serve you. So he took the baggage and everything and took it out. And then, he came all the way to Maharaj's vehicle, dropped it. And so he said to Maharaj, I am also interested in spirituality, Swamiji. But what to do? I don't get time. you should give me blessings so that I get time. I said, don't worry, don't worry. He gave blessings, and then that cricketer was Ajay Jadeja. He got banned for life. So you have to be powerful to digest blessings. So one of Prabhupada's disciples' father was addicted to smoking. So Prabhupada was trying to tell him to give up smoking. So after a few times, Prabhupada said, I've been telling you for so long to give up smoking. Why can't you give up smoking? So this father said, Swamiji, I need special mercy. Only when I get special mercy of Krishna, I can give up smoking. So Prabhupada quoted, Yasyaham anugrihanami harishyet dhanam shane. When Krishna gives special mercy, do you know what happens? He said, no. When Krishna gives special mercy, your business collapses. Your family members abandon you. All your friends and relatives, they will ditch you. So you will be criticized by everyone. That is special mercy. He said, Swamiji, I will give up on my own. I don't need that special mercy. So therefore, Kripa means the mercy. So when you say the mercy, it means all the obstacles in bringing the soul closer to Krishna are removed. And the road is wide open for you to come closer to Krishna. Sometimes you may appreciate how the obstacles have been removed. Sometimes we may be attached to those obstacles and they are removed forcibly. Whatever, Kripa can come in different flavors. So Kripa kara prabhutama yatama sange sahitene pare dukkha vishay tarange. Prabhu kahe aichemat kabhuna kaibo grihe rahi Krishna naam nirantar loibo. Kabuna badhime tovar vishay taranga punarapi ithani pabe morasanga. Mahaprabhu tells the South Indian Kurma Brahman that you stay at home, chant Hare Krishna, and you distribute Krishna to others. That's your duty. And if you do that, kabuna badhive tomar vishay taranga, the waves of material attachment will not bother you. And at the end, you will come back to me without fear. So Mahaprabhu gives him that guarantee. So Kripa is the second thing. So Sukriti, you develop pious credits. You hear about the importance of seva. Second, you actually serve. And by serving, you please. And when you please devotees, please Vaishnavas, please people, they give blessings. And when that blessings come, so Krishna is pleased. So you get purified. And with that purification comes the third thing called Vivek. So Vivek means discrimination. Discrimination, judgment, power of decision making. When to take what decisions appropriately. So that's a result of intense austerity where you have to go through fire. So if Krishna consciousness could be understood just by reading books, anyone could do that. So therefore gold is put through fire, then gold is purified. So like that, we have to go through fire. And then through the sweat and the tears and all that anxiety, millions of lifetimes of anarthas are purified. And so there are no shortcuts to the spiritual world. And therefore, when we sign up for this process, we should be aware that we are signing up for something very intense. But the rewards are also something substantial. So once we are aware, so then we will be prepared for that. So that Vivek means the proper decision making. So with Sukriti, Vivek, Sukriti, Kripa and then Vivek, then you will know in a complex Kali Yuga scenario, moment to moment, I have to balance family, children, occupation, Krishna consciousness, service, this, that. We are challenged every moment. But the ability to make crystal clear decisions on all of these things from a Krishna conscious perspective is only possible when Krishna is pleased and then he allows us. Tesham sadhyuktanam vedam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi. So therefore, in that state of dependence, we are actually able to get the proper judgment. Right? So that's, something which is very important. Okay, does that answer your question? Any other? Yeah.
you're speaking about when you initially came in contact with Krishna consciousness, and you speak about enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm then leads to that enthusiasm to share Krishna consciousness with others. But when we picture it, we maybe picture something that's quite passionate. So my question is, can you share Krishna consciousness in goodness? Because one of the qualms of goodness is kind of being complacent.
I didn't understand your question. Can you give Tika? The Tikakar, London Tikakar.
I think it needs to be translated into a different language. You can summarize it.
Sure. Okay. I guess we hear that one of the problems of goodness is sometimes that one becomes quite complacent in their situation. So in that situation, how can you still share Krishna consciousness?
Oh, okay. See, Kali Yuga is so deficit with goodness. Even goodness is okay. Complacency is a very small problem compared to the problems associated with Rajogun and Tamogun. So at least come to goodness. Then when complacency and other things come, we'll negotiate. But out of fear of complacency, you don't even come to goodness, then further things are not even possible. So when once you come to the stage of goodness, so I agree that sometimes you may feel I'm doing okay, everything is fine. That's why you need shelter of devotees. Okay. So we should first evaluate why we are signing up in ISKCON. Because Bhagavad Gita has how many chapters? Yeah. And how many types of yogas? Multiple types of yogas are given. So Karma Yoga is there in Gita. Jnana Yoga is there. Ashtanga Yoga is there. Raj Yoga is there. In Bhakti Yoga, Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, all flavors, everything is there in Gita. So therefore, when we first connect to Krishna consciousness, we should know that it's a mall. So ISKCON is also like a mall. Whatever you want, you can get here. So it depends on its like. You have to Google, this is what I want, and it pops up. Right? So Sridhar Maharaj used to say, ISKCON is the best of Krishna, best of Maya, both. Whatever you need, you'll get. So therefore, if you're looking for advancement, then you have to allow your false ego to be challenged on a regular basis. So if you're not into that, then in the long run, it's going to be extremely difficult to progress in the path of bhakti, because bhakti is all about dependence, guidance, and things like that. So therefore, bhakti begins when we move out of the zone of comfort. Like that. So that's where bhakti actually begins. And so preaching really challenges you, because people keep asking I was in IIT, I was doing a Janmashtami program, and after the program, one boy was asking questions. You said 8th son of Devaki was going to kill Kamsa. So why Kamsa had to put, Devaki and Vasudeva in the same prison house? He could have put Vasudeva in one prison house, Devaki in another prison house. There would not even be one son. अरे कंस को इतना भी आइडिया नहीं आया क्या? So I said, क्या करे, कंस IIT नहीं गया था. So, you go for preaching, you have prepared yourself and this and that, but what the people will, confront you with, you can't predict. And so it really shakes you out of your complacency. So therefore, whether you're preaching or you're managing, organizing, there will always be challenges. And so therefore, you have to be ready for that. And as you rightly said that, when we say goodness, it means following the basic practices of Krishna consciousness nicely. And then gradually, excitement is guaranteed. Because the nature of ISKCON is such that when they see someone is practicing nicely, I don't think the ISKCON setup is they allow anyone to be complacent and to enjoy goodness. That's been my experience. You know, so at one point I used to study 6 to 8 hours Bhagavatam every day. Those were the days. And so therefore I have personal experience that, you know, it's good to get the transformation, goodness, everything, but Krishna is in control. So Krishna has, you know, a detail on who is the person sitting where to spread my mission in a certain way. So we should not worry about employment, because we are in the employment of Krishna. So he will make sure that whichever servant he wants to employ in his mission in whatever way, when the time comes, even if that servant protests left, right and center, Krishna is not going to leave him. He is going to pick him up and engage him and use him in his mission as its instrument. So there is no need to be in anxiety that I am not employed or something like that. The one day will come, you will be so overemployed that you will be wondering, did I pray for this? So therefore, you know, that's my answer to you. Did I get your question? Any other last question? Any from the Mataji's side? Anyone like to ask? Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. What was your most challenging time in ISKCON?
Most challenging time?
Yes. Most difficult, most challenging?
Yeah, it was the eco village only. Don't tell Maharaj. I spoke a lot yesterday evening on that. But, you know, it takes you to another level of realization and introspection. So, you don't, you know, really plan for things in life like that. It just comes, and when it comes, you just get overwhelmed. Okay? Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanande.
His Grace Gauranga Prabhu ki Jai.